Order of operations with fractions. Order of operations with fractions. The order. Fortunately for us, the order of operations with fractions is the same as it is with whole numbers and decimals. So the first thing that we do is parentheses. The second is exponents. The third is multiply. And divide. And fourth is add and subtract. Fractions tend to take up a lot of room, so you may need some scratch paper to work some of these out. Let's take a look at our examples. So in example 1, we have 9/10 divided by 12/5 plus 5/2 raised to the second power times 1/30. So we don't have any parentheses that mean that we have something inside parentheses. We just have parentheses for our exponent. So the first thing we want to do is our exponent. So I have 9/10 divided by 12/5 plus 5 squared over 2 squared times 1/30. So I'm going to rewrite my 9/10 divided by 12/5 as a multiplication problem. So I have 9/10 times 5/12 plus 5 squared, which would be 25, plus 2 squared, which would be 4, times 1/30. So now I'm left with multiplication and addition. So in my multiplication parts, I'm looking for common factors before I multiply. 9 and 12 have a common factor of 3. So I'm going to divide out 9 divided by 3, which would be 3. 12 divided by 3 would be 4. And then 10 and 5 have a common factor of 5. So 10 divided by 5 would be 2, and 5 divided by 5 would be 1. Looking at my other multiplication part, 25 and 30 have a common factor of 5. So 25 divided by 5 is 5, and 30 divided by 5 would be 6. Now hopefully I've taken care of all my common factors, and now I can just multiply. So I have 3 times 1, which would be 3, and then 2 times 4 would be 8. Plus, we have 5 times 1, which would be 5, and 4 times 6, which would be 24. So now it's an addition problem. The one thing to keep in mind when we are adding with fractions is that we have to get a common denominator. In this case, it's going to be fairly straightforward because 24 is a multiple of 8. So that means that I only need to rewrite my 3/8. And I'm going to be taking my 8 times 3 in order to get my common denominator of 24. So that means that I now have 3 times 3, which would be 9, 8 times 3, which would be 24, plus my 5 24s, and I have 9 plus 5, which would give me 14 over 24. 14 and 24 have a common factor of 2, so I need to divide by 2 for both of those. And I'm going to get that that is 7/12. 7 and 12 have no common factors, so my answer is just 7/12. Let's take a look at example 2. In example 2, I have exponents. Right here, I have the absolute values, and remember that absolute values acts as a parentheses. So that means that I need to do what's inside here first. And I'm going to kind of just move that off to the side. So I have 7/3 minus 9/2, and then I'm going to put it back in because of all the work that's involved. So first thing I need to do is get a common denominator. Since 3 and 2 have no common factors, I'm just going to be multiplying them. So that means I'm going to take 3 times 2 and my 2 times 3. That means my common denominator is going to be 6. So 7 times 2 is 14. This line I'm drawing here is just a separation mark. And then 3 times 2 would be 6, minus 9 times 3, which would be 27, and 2 times 3, which would be 6. So I have 14 minus 27, which is going to give me 13, and it'll be negative. One of the things to be really careful about is not losing your negative sign in your equals. And then my denominator stays the same, so I get negative 13/6. So now let's do a rewrite. I'm going to rewrite my exponent here for my fraction. I have 8 squared over 5 squared minus 9/10 times absolute value of negative 13/6. I can now square my 5 and my 8. So now I've got 64 over 25 minus 9/10 times our absolute value of 13/6, which would be positive 13/6. Now the next thing that would happen is my multiplication. So first thing before I multiply, I want to look for those common factors. 9 and 6 have a common factor of 3, so 9 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. No other common factors there, so I can just multiply. So now I have 64 25ths minus 3 times 13, which would be 39, and 10 times 2, which would be 20. Now that I have all my multiplication taken care of, I'm ready to find my common denominator so I can subtract. I know that my common denominator is going to be 100. 25 equals 5 squared, and 20 is equal to 2 squared times 5. So the LCD then is going to be 2 squared times 5 squared, or in other words, 4 times 25, which equals 100. 25 needs to be multiplied by 4, and 20 needs to be multiplied by 5. That's my missing factor. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room. 4 times 64, we're going to get 16. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 5, so 256. 4 times 25 is 100, minus 5 times 39, so we got 5 times 9 would be 45. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 4 would be 19. Again, that'll be over 100. 256 minus 195, which is going to give us 61 over 100. 61 is a prime number, so that means there will be no common factors, and that is my answer.